Hello, everyone. It's Renee Baribeau, the Practical Shaman, and welcome to the Shaman's Cave.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandra Ingerman and welcome to the Shamans Cave.
Well, we're really excited to be here today. We're always really excited to be here and spend time together anyway, but today we thought we would talk about how do you discern what's true for you? And, there's so much noise. How do you quiet all of the noise, go inside and check? Like, I was supposed to go to a party that I was so looking forward to. And then when I really looked inside and I'm there like, well, I want to be bigger and braver. I want to go to a party with only 11 people at it, but I wasn't feeling comfortable. And that's okay for me to say, hey, I'm not ready to go out and socialize with more than just a couple of people because, and I don't even need a because. That's the other thing is we don't really need to define why we're thinking the way we are. But today I can decide well, it feels a little more expanded to stay home, work on an article that I'm writing, work on well, I'll tell you what I'm working on. I had a tenant leave a property, and sometimes I can ignore my property. It's just like a cash cow over there paying the rent every month and everything. And all of a sudden, a tenant leaves who had a really bad experience out in the world. And it reflected itself back really quickly. So, one of these things about this time is whatever you put out there, it's like a boomerang that's going to hit you back really, really fast. But all of a sudden, all over the property, water leaks are happening. And finally, I knew you'd get it right away. So, yesterday the gardeners say, no, it's the pool, and the pool guy saying, no, it's the gardener. Well, lo and behold, it was this crazy crack in a big pipe down in the earth. So we get that all fixed up yesterday, dig a big hole, another pipe breaks today. And it was like this experience of, whack-a-mole with the water leaks. And then I thought to myself, oh, I hadn't tended to this property in a while. And Mama Water is telling me this property needs a cleansing. And if I'm not going to cleanse it, she's going to cleanse it by breaking all of the sprinkler valves that have no reason to break right at this moment. So what sprinkler valves are breaking in your life, or what water is leaking in your life? What's cleansing here that's pointing the direction of you're not listening, you better pay attention?
hmm Yeah, it's really interesting. About a week ago, my printer died, and then my husband's car transmission went out, and so just looking at all the things going on in our house and in our cars, and they're all metaphors for what's going on inside of us. They're all just metaphors.
Yeah, so that was kind of that one. And, then so then I thought to myself, well, I brought over some smudge and I saged the one part of the property. And it was like, I realized this morning when we're talking about like big leaks. The next one comes up and it's like, okay, Renee, really, and I was talking to a friend last night because this was where my healing center was, where, we had so many, uh, 15 years ago, Grandma Florida Pio came through. All of these people came through and made this property a holy, sacred ground. And it's now a sober living house. And it needs tending.
Yeah.
So, what in your life needs tending today? And, how are you supporting that? Are you so busy reading what's going on over in Wisconsin that you're not even paying attention to what's going on in Palm Desert? And I think we get carried away with ourselves thinking that we have so much control. I was even thinking about it when I wanted to go to this party and go to LA today. And I was thinking, was I being extravagant in my travel? Was I just willy nilly where I was going without any thought for how much gas, what it was doing to, and so is this time of reconfiguring our spatial reality really as important as everything else that's going on in the world? And really, how many trips do I need to take to New York a year? Or, and I don't know the answer to it, and the answer might be different for you. But I've noticed for myself lately, I really thought about how much that we just trampled all the sacred sites all over the world because we could.
Right. Yeah. In 2003, um, my helping spirit, who many of you know, one of my helping spirits is the Egyptian goddess Isis. She came to me and she said, there's going to be a time on the planet where people aren't going to be able to travel anymore. And she said, I want you to start training teachers so that people in local areas have the opportunity to work with really experienced shamanic teachers. And that was actually when I started training teachers. And so you can kind of see that, there's been a setup for a really long time. Everything is connected. We're just real limited in our time frames that we see. And I also, in my very second book that I wrote about the power of small communities, of people working with their own communities and having block parties again. I grew up in New York. We used to have block parties, people come out and meet each other and share food together. And I wrote in my book about how in areas of the inner cities, people were coming together in small communities to create gardens to be able to feed the community. And I really see, in what Renee is talking about, I really see we got so globally, everything became so global because it could. And now it's like we went so far global. It's like now we need to come back to our home space again and tend it.
Hmm.
And we need to tend our communities again.
Right. And so instead of looking to the news sources for, a description of what's going on in your life, look inside. Just absolutely look inside. Like, are there plants dying in your own yard? Are there, what's going on around you? Like, one of the things that happened really nice in this neighborhood was that when people couldn't go anywhere, they had these like gatherings on the lawn where everyone sat 6 feet apart. They had all their squirt bottles with, a little bit over the top. But, and actually stopped and visited with people who live across the street. And one of the things that I've noticed in this, and I don't know if you've noticed, is that my neighborhood where I live, I happen to be in a gated community, was very transient. Like, people would use up the desert 3 months out of the year and go home to Canada or wherever else they were going home to. And now all of a sudden families are moving in. It's
Mm,
not so good at the pool because there's lots of kids and stuff, and I don't get to have my nightly swims. But the nature of the demographics are changing.
mhm.
And I was talking to somebody last week who moved his family from New York to one of the suburbs up in the Lenox area. I think we're going to see more of where do I want to be planted instead of where do I want to fly from all the time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, our behavior towards this planet is we live in a planet of cause and effect. I'm not using blame, no judgment, no guilt. Cause and effect is neutral. Cause and effect is neutral. There's no blame or anything. You take action, things happen, and that's the effect. And we're looking at a big effect of how we had this amazing opportunity and we took it, but we're getting a message. We're getting a message now. And so if we go back to the show that we did last week about staying in the present, what's the message now? And as Renee, as you're brilliantly sharing about tending, tending what's right in front of you now.
Absolutely. And the people who are the furthest out from this are, I bet you if you looked at, how they're tending to their own spaciousness and stuff like that. And I think that that's so key right now. The other thing that I was going to suggest that you might want to do is to create an additional anchor in your life right now, because the South American shamans or however they're called, animism. I don't want to get the police, the word police after me here, but they talked about this time as being a Pachacuti, and the way that I'm describing it in the new book that I'm working on is more that we've entered into the cycle of decay. And so when something's decaying, there's nothing really good to hold on to. Like there is not. And one of the things that we've realized in the Wind Clan, and trust me, a lot of the information that comes, like I got the book Winds of Spirit, but most of the information on the teaching and stuff is coming from the early students who are coming to share their experiences of the wind. And we realized that when a boat is anchored in the water, it allows for movement. It's not anchored so tight that nothing can move. So in your life, if you're anchoring to things that are fixed points in time and space, you're probably struggling. You're fighting against the wind, and trust me, there's no fighting against a fixed point in the wind. And so this is a time where you need to be able to bend. And in the spring, at the equinox, and you can go back to it in my website, but I just wanted to walk through the process with you. There is a journey on it, and I'll put it in the notes for this. But that there is a second anchor point that's now available to us. And I don't know how long it's been available, because I don't, I usually just say, okay, and we'll try this out and see how it works for a few months. And this seems to be really helpful to people, is to actually go outside in nature, close your eyes. And remember, somebody was asking me the other day, and this was a really good point. She was wondering where her first anchor spot was. And in the wind work, and it's funny, I posted it, and somebody in the Shamans cave wanted to tell me that this was right, and this is where it's in the Tibetan. I'm sure it's in a lot of traditions, but right now I'm just listening to the wind guidance. But that there's this invisible magnetic field of energy that goes through from the top all the way down through, comes out like your pelvic region into the center of the earth to the magnetic field. And this is your spin axis. That's what I've been told it is, because this awakening compass that I work with is an orienting tool, and there's a spin axis that keeps you tethered to the earth, because we all navigate from our own wheelhouses. I don't navigate from Sandra, she can't navigate from mine, and when we're doing that, it's generally a projection about what the other person needs more, unless you're in a healing situation, you've invited all in the spirits and they're guiding it. But when I have my judgments, it's like, well, this is what you need. So when we're anchored, one of the things is that for me, it was really easy, because I've lived within the same few mountain ranges in Peak Triangle for a while, but that I'm one of the points of the triangle. Okay? So I'm a point of, make it however your triangle looks, because they're not all equilateral, they could be different. And so I was facing this particular point, which happens to be in the south, towards the south, facing this point. So close your eyes and face the point in your own nature that you're most comfortable facing. And just, you could identify it as that northeast, southwest, and get that point. And then start to move yourself into the spaciousness of your own spin cycle, which, remember, you're spinning from your own axis. So you're facing your favorite point in nature, and then turn clockwise until you find another point in your compass, and then anchor out there in spaciousness, and identify that for yourself if you want. Now, did you go 90 degrees? Did you go 180 degrees? Or where did you go from that point? And then just send an anchor out to there, and then pull it back to your spin axis, and you have a triangle. You see, feel that? And so once you have that other anchor point, imagine that, like now with people throwing stuff at us left and right, news and everything like that. Now you have two anchors so that you don't wobble as much in the uncertainty. So if one is, so then you can say, okay, I'm anchored here, and this is my spin axis is aligned. All right, this is what I need to deal with with my little triangle, and the rest is none of my business.
Wow.
You like that?
When I turned right, it was an amazing experience. It was like my body just went into the earth. It was just amazing.
So one of the things that Florida Maya used to say was that in her tradition, they used to say that the world could spin off of its axis. And us humans, we want to take everything literal. But what if that's a metaphorical shift? So if you have a second anchor point, right, then if the world starts to spin off of its axis, you're already anchored in somewhere out there in space that then you can bring back here. And so you're not as thrown off as if you just have one fixed anchor point. So for me, I'm like, oh yeah, and I remind myself on my walks to re-anchor myself in those 2 points, so that as things start to shift, that I know where I am at all times.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Well, I would like to take credit for it, but it just came one night on a wind walk. And then what happened was naturally, Sandra, because you got me talking to trees now, I just blame her for this activity, that a tree showed up right in that line. So every night when I walk by the tree, and I usually forget that second tree because I got the other tree over here, I figured knowing Sandra in 15 years, I'm going to have 15 trees in my development. But this one reminds me that it's anchored, it's in the line of that new anchor. And so it reminds me every day to check on that second new anchor point for myself.
Nice. That's, that's great.
So if you have questions about that, and I actually did a journey in the spring, and it was right before this whole shutdown and all of this virus stuff. I didn't even know about it, but then I'm like, okay, I've got the second point holding me as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting if all of us as spiritual practitioners kind of take a journey back down memory lane, we all kind of got, not that something was going to happen, but we were given a tool that you're going to need this tool soon. But if you really, because I've been when I talk to people or when I was on Facebook, um, you would keep hearing, not that people were connecting, they weren't making any connection, but I could make this connection that they got this tool right before the COVID came in and the spirits were trying to help.
Yeah, I didn't get it until all of a sudden about a week or two ago, and they're like, wow, that tool came right before this. We learned time jumping in December, right before this. And what I missed totally was that last year, and Sandra, I was talking to you about it. I pitched this movie to my movie producer friend, and I'm telling her, well, yeah, then the person goes 40 years in the future and they can't go outside. I had no idea that I was looking a year ahead. And so when I wrote to her recently, I'm there, remember that movie I pitched you? It was really, I think, about this time. I said, so now I'm going to really have to journey out 40 years and see what it looks like from that anchor point. And so trust what you're getting and really start to know that you are being guided, and sometimes we only see it in retrospect.
Exactly. It's amazing if you really reflect and if you stay present, you can actually start to make those kinds of connections.
Absolutely. So stay with us because we're making these. One of the things I love about our show is that we make these connections online right before the show starts. You know, we get these ideas and we usually follow them through. So stay with us because I think we are really on the cutting edge of time and space, you know, and we certainly enjoy talking to each other about this stuff.
We do. And the other thing is, Renee and I are both really committed to our spiritual practices. Um, I am not committed to um, arguing. I'm not committed to that in any way. I spend too much of my life. I'm an elder now. It's about bringing peace into the world, it's about bringing love into the world. We are constantly downloading tools for to get us through this time. We're teaching our own workshops. We can't bring everything from our workshops into the shaman's cave, but we do bring practices that we know are going to help you get through whatever is coming and to stay present and for us to stay present together and to do our work together. And so the shaman's cave is a safe haven for you to come and go, let me work on some tools. Let
Hmm.
me work on some tools to help me with how I'm feeling in the present right now. And we all do it together and we all share together. And Renee and I love each other and we really appreciate you and we love you all out there for the contributions that you're making right now to the collective. And it makes a difference. So thank you.
Absolutely. And Sandra's going to be teaching another course coming up about how to navigate through you know, these darker days that you might be experiencing. And so look for that over at the shamanstv.com. There's probably a link there and probably a description. And I've taken up to loving one-day retreats because it's the perfect commitment for me, and it's just the perfect commitment for everyone. And we did one in June, and I'm going to be doing one for sure in September and probably in August because it's just a great way of spending a day learning about the wind and really putting these practices to good use in your life. And the last one was awesome. So I'm so excited about this. And also, order our books. You know, this is the least you can do. You know, the most you could do is take all of our classes, but the least you could do is go over to your favorite bookstore or over to Amazon and get one of our books, one for each of us, and then, you know, support the show. And we want to thank everyone who does contribute we have some regular contributors who contribute monthly. Sign up at shamanstv.com, come over to the Facebook group. And this show, why don't you come over and tell us some of the tools you realized you got before COVID? And also share the show. You get 100-time blessings when you share the show.
I love that. Well, have a beautiful day, a beautiful night, everyone, and stay well and stay filled with light.
All right. Thank you, Sandra, and thank you, everyone at home.